New World Order, the secret plan for global control. They called it progress. But somewhere along the road to globalization, the idea of freedom began to quietly fade. Governments merged into alliances. Currencies became numbers on a screen. Every click, every thought, every purchase being monitored, measured, and stored. All while the world kept moving faster, unaware that something much larger was unfolding behind the curtain. For decades, whispers of a new world order have haunted late-night conversations. A shadow government of elite financiers, industrialists, and technocrats steering humanity toward a single global system. A world where borders blur, sovereignty dissolves, and a handful of hidden architects decide the fate of billions. To most, it sounds like fiction, a wild conspiracy born from paranoia. But as crises continue to reshape the world, pandemics, wars, digital currencies, and mass surveillance, the theory begins to look less like fiction and more like a plan. The story begins in the ashes of war. Every major conflict seemed to push humanity closer to unity, not through peace, but through control. The League of Nations, the United Nations, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, each formed under the banner of stability. Yet each brought more power to fewer hands. Behind every treaty, every economic system, and every solution, the same names reappear. Global financiers, dynastic families, and elite think tanks meeting in secret to discuss the future of humanity without humanity's consent. They speak of progress, sustainability, and safety, but those words are often the language of power. What if the true goal isn't chaos but order? Not anarchy but alignment. One currency, one governance structure, one digital identity for every citizen of Earth. A system where freedom is no longer the ability to choose, but the privilege to comply. The pattern is undeniable. Crisis, control. Every disaster, whether economic or biological, leads to more surveillance, more centralization, more dependency. Innovation, integration. Technology connects the world and quietly removes privacy, decentralizing power from the people to data-driven systems run by unseen entities. Debt, obedience. The modern economy runs not on gold or goods, but on credit, a leash of invisible chains tied to every nation, company, and person. What if all of this is connected? What if none of it is accidental? They call it the Great Reset, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, the digital transformation. But many believe it is all part of the same design, a slow reprogramming of human civilization into a controllable network. Physical cash replaced by trackable tokens, nations replaced by global institutions, and human individuality replaced by a digital profile linked to every decision we make. It's a conspiracy so vast it sounds impossible. But history has already shown what a small, coordinated group of people can achieve when they control the money, the media, and the message. The real question isn't whether the New World Order exists. It is how far along we already are. Because when the final phase begins, there won't be armies marching in the streets or dictators giving speeches. It'll happen quietly, through code, contracts, and compliance. The system will simply shift. And we'll wake up one morning in a world where everything is connected, and nothing is truly ours. This is not just a story about control. It's a story about humanity's crossroads, between freedom and submission, between truth and comfort. A story that exposes the hidden architecture of power shaping our future right now. Welcome to the deep end. Welcome to the New World Order. Part 1. The architects of power. Long before the term New World Order was whispered in politics or printed in headlines, power had already begun concentrating in the hands of a select few. Monarchs ruled by bloodline, empires expanded by conquest, and bankers quietly financed both sides. Over centuries, a pattern emerged. Those who controlled money ultimately controlled nations. In the 19th and 20th centuries, that control evolved from crowns and armies to corporations and banks. Industrialization birthed fortunes so large they could bend policy itself. Behind the banners of philanthropy and progress, a new form of influence took shape, one that operated not through public office but through private networks. Think tanks, secret meetings, and global foundations replaced thrones and swords. The public saw governments, the insiders saw managers of a shared system. It began with the creation of central banks, institutions sold as stabilizers but designed to privatize monetary power. The Bank of England, the Federal Reserve, and later the IMF and World Bank all drew from the same ideology. Control the supply of money and you can shape the destiny of nations. Wars, recessions, and recoveries became tools for realignment, each bringing tighter global coordination. Then came the councils and conferences, gatherings where the most influential financiers, politicians, and media moguls met behind closed doors. The names changed over the decades, but the pattern remained, a convergence of elite interests building a framework for a post-national world. They called it cooperation. Critics called it consolidation. Every decade birthed a new layer of the architecture. The Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, and the Bilderberg Group, each presenting itself as a forum for dialogue, yet always discussing the same themes: energy, economy, defense, technology. The minutes were never public. The attendees always connected back to the same power circles: banking dynasties, industrial families, and emerging tech leaders whose influence transcended borders. Publicly, they preached democracy and free markets. Privately, they planned integration, merging monetary systems, aligning policies, standardizing information flow. One globalized machine running smoothly under a handful of unaccountable operators. Whether by design or by natural gravitation of power, the result was the same. Decision-making migrated upward while accountability vanished. By the mid-20th century, the world was primed for consolidation. 2 world wars devastated nations but enriched those who rebuilt them. Out of the ruins came institutions: the United Nations, the World Bank, the IMF, designed to prevent future chaos but effectively establishing the blueprint for global governance. Each crisis produced a new mechanism. Each solution demanded more surrender of national control. Yet the true genius of these architects was subtlety. They didn't seize control overnight, they engineered dependency. Loans with conditions, policies tied to funding, trade agreements favoring the system over sovereignty. Nations voluntarily entered the web, unaware that every signature tightened the strands. And behind it all, one thread united them: the pursuit of a world too interconnected to resist central authority. A world managed by economics instead of ethics, by data instead of democracy. By the 21st century, the architects had evolved again. They no longer wore suits of state. They wore the logos of technology. The new elites weren't just financiers, but information gatekeepers. Those who controlled the algorithms, platforms, and narratives that shaped perception itself. Power shifted from printing money to programming reality. The blueprint for the New World Order was never a single document. It was a continuum of influence, passed from the old dynasties to digital empires. Every generation added another layer to the invisible pyramid, a structure built not from stone, but from systems. They don't need to conquer nations anymore. Nations willingly connect to the grid, financial, digital, psychological, believing it leads to progress. But for those who look deeper, the pattern remains unmistakable. Control has merely changed form. The next question is how this architecture enforces obedience, not with armies, but with algorithms and economics. Part 2, the financial web. Part 1 revealed the architects of the New World Order. Part 2 exposes their blueprint, a financial web so vast and invisible that it ensnares nearly every person on Earth. It doesn't need soldiers or chains. Its weapon is dead. Its battlefield is the global economy. The modern world runs not on gold, oil, or goods, but on confidence. Confidence in paper, in screens, in systems that most people will never understand. Central banks issue currency out of thin air. Governments borrow it with interest. And citizens spend their lives repaying the difference. This cycle isn't accidental, it's design. It ensures that money always flows upward, never outward. At the core of this web sits a network of central and supranational banks. The Federal Reserve, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, the Bank for International Settlements, BIS, and others that quietly dictate global policy. They are not truly governmental nor truly private, but something in between and an unaccountable hybrid. Their decisions can collapse economies, rescue nations, or ignite inflation across continents. Yet the public barely notices their existence. The BIS in particular acts like a central bank for central banks, a hidden throne room where the financial elite coordinate behind closed doors. Its power is so entrenched that even presidents and parliaments tread lightly around it. Every economic crisis, from the Great Depression to the 2008 meltdown, strengthened this structure instead of weakening it. Each shock allowed for more integration, more global oversight. More control disguised as coordination. Debt became the currency of obedience. Developing nations were enticed with loans, then trapped when the conditions arrived. Privatization, austerity, and policy reforms that benefited foreign corporations. Domestically, citizens were sold dreams financed by credit. Homes, cars, education, all borrowed, never owned. And in that illusion of prosperity, freedom quietly eroded. But the architects knew paper money couldn't last forever. They needed a system that couldn't be escaped. One where every transaction, every asset, and every individual could be tracked. Thus began the rise of digital currency. Not the decentralized kind born from rebellion, but the state-backed version born from control. Central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, are being presented as innovation. In reality, they're the final evolution of the financial web. Programmable money that can expire, be frozen or restricted based on behavior. It's not about convenience. It's about compliance. Imagine a world where your access to funds is tied to your social rating, carbon score, or political alignment, where a protest donation or unpopular opinion could lock your account instantly, where every purchase feeds a global database profiling not just what you buy, but who you are. That world isn't science fiction. It's being built in real time under the guise of efficiency and inclusion. Meanwhile, the tokenization of assets, everything from real estate to art, is expanding the same infrastructure. Soon every store of value will live on-chain, monitored and permissioned. Financial freedom won't vanish overnight. It'll fade one upgrade at a time. Yet as control tightens, resistance grows. Decentralized networks, digital gold, and neutral settlement assets like XRP stand in contrast to this system. Tools that could free liquidity from centralized control, whether by coincidence or design. These technologies mirror the architecture the elites once dreamed of, but without the gatekeepers. The same rails that could enslave the world might also liberate it, depending on who holds the keys. The financial web isn't just about money. It's about behavioral control. When people fear losing access to resources, they self-censor. They obey. That's the genius of invisible governance. No guns, no guards, just algorithms maintaining obedience through dependency. From fiat to digital, from debt to data, the system has evolved perfectly. Each step appears logical, modern, and necessary, and yet step by step the trap closes. This is the heart of the New World Order. Control through currency disguised as progress. But money alone isn't enough to rule humanity. To complete the system, they needed to control not just wealth, but information, perception, and reality itself. Part 3. The control grid. Money may build the cage, but information decides who stays inside. After centuries of controlling nations through debt, the architects of global power turned their attention to something even more valuable: human attention itself. The modern battlefield isn't fought with weapons, it's fought with narratives. Whoever shapes perception, shapes reality. It began innocently enough. Newspapers, radio, and television promised to inform and unite. Yet behind the headlines sat media empires owned by the same few conglomerates. Over time, a handful of corporations came to dictate what billions see, hear, and believe. Governments didn't need to censor when ownership could simply curate. By the dawn of the internet, the old broadcasters had evolved into digital gatekeepers, platforms that claimed to connect the world but quietly filtered its view of it. Social media completed the transformation. Every like, share, and comment became a psychological breadcrumb, training algorithms to predict and influence behavior. The result was a population that felt informed but was increasingly programmed. Echo chambers replaced debate, outrage replaced reason, and truth became a matter of trend. The architects understood: if money controls action, data controls thought. They built the infrastructure of surveillance under the banners of security and convenience. Smartphones, cameras, and smart devices listen, watch, and report. Cloud storage became the perfect vault, not for protecting your privacy, but for harvesting it. The more people shared, the easier it became to anticipate and steer collective behavior. In the name of safety, entire societies accepted being monitored. Every digital footprint fed a growing web of analytics so detailed it could forecast revolutions before they began. What was once science fiction, mass data collection, behavioral prediction, sentiment manipulation, is now standard business practice. The concept of predictive programming took hold. Before major world shifts, films, music, and entertainment seemed to foreshadow real-world events. Coincidence or conditioning? Either way, repetition breeds acceptance. When the extraordinary becomes familiar, resistance fades. Then came the digital curtain, coordinated censorship disguised as content moderation. Independent voices vanished from search results. Algorithms quietly buried dissent, and alternative narratives were labeled as misinformation before they could even be debated. In the eyes of the control grid, free speech wasn't a right. It was a variable to manage. At the same time, the physical world was wired to match the digital one. Surveillance cameras multiplied, drones patrolled skies, and satellites mapped every inch of Earth. Governments partnered with tech giants, trading citizen data for influence. Artificial intelligence now reads emotions through facial scans and can flag anomalous behavior before a crime occurs. It's efficient, it's impressive, it's terrifying. To the public, these technologies mean convenience. Smarter homes, safer cities, faster service. To the architects, they mean precision, a way to measure and modify humanity in real time. The ultimate goal isn't protection, it's predictability. A world so transparent that spontaneity itself becomes a threat. Yet in every system of control lies its flaw: consciousness. People are waking up to the trade they made: comfort for privacy, entertainment for awareness. The same internet built to watch us also allows us to see them. Leaks, whistleblowers, and decentralized networks are cracking the facade, revealing how deep the grid truly runs. The control grid isn't a dystopian future. It's the present disguised as progress. The cameras are already on, the data already mined, the narratives already written. But what comes next will merge everything: money, identity, and behavior all into one programmable system. This next phase has a name whispered in boardrooms and think tanks alike: a great reset, a digital rebirth that promises equality but delivers control. The question isn't whether the grid expands, it's whether humanity will notice before it closes. Part 4. The Reset and the Digital Prison. Every great empire eventually falls, unless it evolves. The architects of global power understood this. The old world of banks, wars, and paper money could only take control so far. The next empire wouldn't conquer land or wealth, it would conquer data. Welcome to the Great Reset, the quiet revolution disguised as reform. It's sold as a solution to inequality, climate change, and financial instability. In reality, it is the final phase of the plan: to merge the financial web and control grid into one seamless system. Everything and everyone tokenized and tracked. A single digital ecosystem where ownership, identity, and compliance are managed by algorithm. The transition began subtly. Central banks began exploring digital currencies, governments proposed digital IDs, and corporations adopted blockchain not for freedom, but for traceability. Under the banner of transparency, a digital prison was quietly constructed. Invisible, efficient, and nearly impossible to escape. In this new order, money isn't just a medium of exchange, it's a mechanism of behavior. Programmable currency can reward obedience and punish defiance. A carbon tax can automatically limit your travel. A social score can unlock or deny access to basic services. It is not dystopian imagination. It is the logical evolution of total control in a world that values convenience over freedom. Even ownership itself is changing. Through tokenization, every asset, real estate, vehicles, art, even carbon credits, becomes a digital token that can be tracked and controlled. Nothing truly leaves the system because the system owns the infrastructure. The blockchain becomes both the ledger of wealth and the leash that maintains compliance. The next step is identity. Digital IDs tied to biometrics will unify every aspect of a person's life: health records, finances, location, and even voting rights. A single digital passport determines your access to society. Lose the ID and you lose participation. It's a system that doesn't need prisons, because exclusion is punishment enough. The pitch is seductive: no fraud, no corruption, no lost paperwork. But beneath the polished slogans of efficiency lies a chilling truth. Perfection is control. A perfectly efficient world leaves no room for rebellion. Every transaction becomes permissioned. Every life quantified. At the center of this transformation sits artificial intelligence, the new overseer of the digital realm. AI monitors compliance, analyzes risk, and predicts behavior faster than any government ever could. What began as a tool for convenience is becoming the algorithmic authority of the new age. The state doesn't need to enforce rules when code can do it automatically. And yet, as with all forms of control, there are unintended consequences. The same digital rails built for surveillance can also carry freedom, if used differently. Decentralized systems like XRP Ledger and other neutral networks demonstrate that the same infrastructure can empower instead of enslave. The difference lies not in the code itself, but in who commands it. Some believe this reset will mark the end of sovereignty, that nations will dissolve into a unified global economy, governed by algorithms and policy frameworks beyond democratic reach. Others see it as an opportunity, a chance to rebuild the system on transparency, truth, and decentralized trust. The reset is not coming. It's already here, quietly implemented through legislation, pilot programs, and digital transformation initiatives. Its language is sterile: interoperability, ESG scoring, digital inclusion, but its implications are existential. If the 20th century was the age of industrial power, the 21st is the age of digital obedience. And the question hanging over humanity is no longer who controls the system, but whether the system can ever be controlled at all. Because once every asset, identity, and transaction is tokenized, the architecture of the prison will be complete. A cage made of code, where freedom is an illusion and compliance is survival. The New World Order won't arrive with armies or anthems. It will come with updates and user agreements, and by the time most realize it, they'll already have clicked accept. Part 5. The Resistance and the Awakening. Every system of control eventually meets its opposite, the human spirit. For centuries, empires have risen and fallen on the same principle. Those in power believe they can engineer order forever. Yet the very act of control awakens rebellion. The digital empire will be no different. The architects of the New World Order built their machine to be flawless, a seamless web of money, data, and surveillance. But in their pursuit of perfection, they underestimated the one variable they could never quantify: consciousness. Awareness spreads faster than censorship can contain it. Each whistleblower, each leak, each independent creator posting truth into the noise weakens the illusion. Across the world, small sparks of resistance are turning into wildfires. Coders building decentralized networks. Economists proposing transparent ledgers. Citizens rejecting algorithmic control by returning to privacy tools, alternative currencies, and community-driven systems. What began as scattered dissent is slowly forming a parallel civilization, an internet of value built on voluntary connection instead of enforced compliance. The same technologies designed to enslave are now being rewritten to liberate. Blockchains once destined for surveillance now record truth immutably. Digital assets like XRP prove that liquidity can move without borders or banks. Peer-to-peer systems bypass gatekeepers. Artificial intelligence, once feared as the eye of the panopticon, can also expose corruption, automate transparency, and amplify the voices of those who would otherwise be silenced. Every act of awakening starts with realization. The New World Order isn't an external entity, it is a mindset. It thrives on our submission, our addiction to comfort, our fear of standing apart. The real battlefield is internal. When enough people choose awareness over apathy, the structure collapses from within. You can already feel it shifting. Institutions lose trust. Narratives crack. Younger generations see through the charade of endless debt and curated reality. They no longer ask permission to innovate. They build, and in that creation lies the antidote. Still, the architects will not surrender quietly. The more the system is questioned, the more it will tighten its grip. Expect the push for digital IDs, programmable currencies, and controlled media to accelerate. But resistance doesn't need violence. It needs truth. Truth disrupts control because it cannot be patented or suppressed forever. Imagine a future where the same rails designed for surveillance become tools for sovereignty. A global network where value flows freely, verified but not censored, where transparency replaces corruption and privacy replaces secrecy. Humanity was never meant to be managed like data. It was meant to evolve through choice. The awakening isn't about overthrowing governments or dismantling technology. It's about reclaiming intent, choosing to build systems that serve life, not power. To reconnect finance with purpose, progress with ethics, and innovation with freedom, the New World Order loses not when its institutions fall, but when people simply stop feeding it. And maybe that is the real secret. The world was never controlled by the few because they were powerful. It was controlled because the many forgot they were. As this digital age unfolds, humanity stands at a crossroads. One path leads to compliance, a polished cage where everything works but nothing is free. The other leads to responsibility, a messy, decentralized, self-governing reality where freedom demands awareness. The choice, as always, belongs to us. The awakening begins. In every age, power hides behind noble words: safety, progress, unity. But control disguised as order is still control. The world stands on the edge of transformation, one future engineered by algorithms, the other created by awareness. The question isn't whether a new world order exists, but whether humanity will continue to build it or finally break it. Because in the end, freedom isn't given, it's remembered. And once the world remembers, no system, no surveillance, no digital empire can contain it. This has been the New World Order, the secret plan for global control. A story about power, perception, and the awakening of truth. If this opened your eyes, share it. If it sparked something, follow it. And if you believe humanity can still write its own future, subscribe to LTL Productions and join the movement for truth. The awakening has only just begun.